So, you really want to know? He asked.
Pinky's eyes shot up.
I don't want to force you if you don't want to.
He sighed and dropped his gaze.
I might as well. I've blocked it off for long enough as is. Maybe it'd do some good if I got it off my chest.
He looked up at her sad eyes and took a deep breath.
Several years ago, I met this beautiful mare in Manhattan. Her name was Starshine, a Pegasus. She'd been visiting her relatives in Philadelphia, and by chance I met her at a train station waiting on the next departure. We hit it off pretty well, found out she was an artist. Her art was almost as beautiful as she was.
He smiled faintly.
Anyway, we got to know each other, and after a few years she moved to Philadelphia to live, and we got engaged. And 8 months later, I graduated from Philadelphia Institute of Economics, and then Starshine and I got married. Aww!
Pinky smiled.
That doesn't sound very bad. Where is she now?
Chase lowered his gaze. I don't know.
Wait, what? Why not? We're no longer together.
Chase raised his head to meet Pinky's intense gaze once more.
Because I messed up. Big time. I'd gotten a job working as a financial advisor for the mayor of Philadelphia. The city was hit with some financial problems, and I was tasked to turn that deficit into a surplus. Well, I thought it'd be easy. With the mayor's approval, I managed to cut some services that were being wasteful, and corrected some existing loopholes. But,
Pinky said,
that sounds like you were doing well. At that point, I was. I was proving to be a great asset for the mayor and the city. But what I did wasn't enough to hit the surplus. We were still hurting for money, and there was nothing left to fix. We had to start bringing bits in. Well, I was a fan of the Wonderbolt shows, having seen one once in Manhattan when I went to visit Starshine. The stadium there had so many seats, and every single last one of them was filled with adoring fans. That was my inspiration for the plan that would bring in money to Philadelphia. A stadium that would match or exceed the scope of the Manhattan Stadium. I brought forth plans to the mayor, and he was intrigued, but also very apprehensive of it. You see, a stadium of that magnitude would bring in ponies from all around Equestria, true, but it would also cost a whole lot of bits. Millions of bits easily. So it was a risky move, but the mayor had faith in me. He gave me the okay.
Pinky placed the cupcake that she had been holding onto a plate, having lost interest in it.
What happened?
Chase clenched his eyes shut.
I messed up big time. I worked with so many ponies on choosing a space for the stadium, and signed the check. Well, on day one we had problems. The wrong materials were brought and delivered to the construction site, so we had to buy more and put what we had away in storage. The problem with that is that we spent more money than we needed on supplies, and we had to rent space for the unused ones. That cost money over time. One problem led to another, then to another, which was beginning to spell out disaster. There was an accident on site that resulted in a few ponies getting injured. No deaths, thankfully. But that had been costly to us as well. We paid for their medical bills, and our project fell further off track. When it was all said and done, we finished the project several million bits more in debt, and failed to meet the target completion date. To top it all off, the stadium failed to bring the income needed. The city was in a very bad state financially because of this. Because I was the one to sign the check, I lost my job.
Chase slammed his hoof against the table, causing the remaining 2 cupcakes to tip over on the platter.
Having something like that on my resume made it impossible for me to find work. No pony wanted such a risk-taker under their employment. Eventually, Starshine had enough. All I could see in her eyes was pain and sadness. She didn't want to live that way anymore. So, one day she just up and left, and she never came back.
Chase felt something touch his hoof, and he looked up. Pinky's eyes no longer showed the happiness they once had, and her smile was gone. Her hoof patted his softly, comfortingly. His lips shuddered lightly.
I never found work, and eventually lost my home. I was in a bad mood for the longest time, and ponies began to dislike me. Could I blame them? I was just angry after all that. I took it out on any pony around me. I began to wander, hoping to find opportunity, but I never found it. Never found a place to go.
He took a deep breath and tried to force a smile.
So, I guess to answer your question from earlier, I didn't take the train because I couldn't afford it.
Pinky hopped up in an instant, wrapping him in a hug that seemed to last an eternity. He felt sobbing on his shoulder.
Oh, Chase, I'm so sorry.
He pulled away from her and shook his head.
No, don't be. I don't need any pony feeling sorry for me. Chase, it's not all right for any pony to be abandoned, especially by those who love you. I've had that feeling before.
Pinky sat back in her chair across from him and gave him a heartfelt smile.
Stay here for the night, Chase. Tomorrow you'll have more fun than you've ever had. I'll make sure of it. Nah, I couldn't ask you to. I'm not taking no for an answer.
Pinky said sternly.
Because no pony should spend the holidays alone.